Had to take a besikia your pace and power. There comes a point in life when you realize how exhausted you are, not because of what you're doing, but because of what you're carrying. You're carrying people's expectations, regrets from the past, anger over things you can't change, and stress from situations that were never yours to fix. And the saddest part, somewhere along the way, you stopped protecting your peace. You started saying yes when you wanted to say no. You started over-explaining yourself, shrinking your energy, and letting the noise of other people drown out your voice. But here's the truth. Peace isn't something you find when the world gets quiet. Peace is something you build when you decide to stop participating in chaos. Taking your power back isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling what you tolerate, what you focus on, and what you give your energy to. Today, I want to show you exactly how to take back your peace and your power. No matter what you've been through, no matter who's hurt you, no matter how long you've been stuck in the same cycle. Because the moment you decide, enough, that's the moment you start healing. To understand you, you try to justify your choices, your goals, your dreams, your healing. Because somewhere deep inside, you still think that their approval validates your progress. You want them to say, I get it, or I'm proud of you. Because it feels like that affirmation will make what you're doing real. But here's the truth, it won't. It never will. Because the people who genuinely care about you don't need a presentation to understand your intentions. And the people who don't care will twist your words no matter what you say. You can explain yourself for hours and still walk away feeling misunderstood, unseen, and emotionally exhausted. You need to understand that not everyone deserves access to your mind. Not everyone deserves to be invited into the thought process behind your decisions. You don't owe anyone an explanation for prioritizing your peace. You don't owe anyone a play-by-play of your healing. You don't owe anyone a reason for saying no, for walking away, for changing, for growing, for outgrowing. Every time you over-explain yourself, you give away a little more of your power. You let other people's opinions sit in the driver's seat of your life. You let their comfort matter more than your clarity. And that's why you feel drained. Because you're trying to manage perceptions that you were never meant to control. Think about how much of your life has been spent trying to be understood. How many times have you bit your tongue or softened your truth just so someone wouldn't get upset? How many times have you replayed conversations in your head, wondering if you said too much or not enough? That constant need to be understood is a trap. It keeps you chasing approval instead of peace. It's like being on an emotional treadmill. You keep running, but you don't get anywhere. You keep explaining, but the people who want to misunderstand you still will. Peace comes when you stop chasing understanding from the wrong people. Because here's something no one tells you, it's not your job to make them see your worth. It's your job to see it yourself. The moment you stop explaining and start standing in your truth, something incredible happens. You start reclaiming your energy. You stop wasting your words on people who are committed to misinterpreting your silence, your boundaries, or your growth. And you realize that your power doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being grounded in who you are, regardless of who gets it. Some people will never understand why you stopped calling, why you stopped showing up, why you stopped bending over backward to keep the peace. They'll label you selfish, distant, or different. Let them. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always call your peace attitude. You can't convince them otherwise, and you don't need to. The right people will understand your boundaries without needing a lecture. They'll respect your silence, your distance, your growth. And the wrong people will always demand an explanation because they know your energy was valuable to them. You don't need to keep explaining your growth to those who are committed to staying the same. You don't need to make your healing palatable so it doesn't make others uncomfortable. Growth is messy. Healing is silent. Transformation is misunderstood. You will lose people along the way, and that's okay. That's part of the price of peace. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop negotiating your worth. You start realizing that the people who truly align with you don't need constant justification. They see your heart even when they don't understand your choices. When you find yourself trying to explain your boundaries, pause and ask yourself why. Are you doing it because you genuinely want to communicate or because you want to be liked? Because here's the truth, people who love you don't need a dissertation to respect your no. They just respect it. The rest, they'll question, guilt trip, or manipulate until you give in. And then they'll still find fault with your decision. That's why you have to draw the line between explanation and self-betrayal. One protects peace, the other destroys it. Taking back your peace starts with silence. It starts with saying, I don't need to explain that, and meaning it. It's realizing that your actions are enough. You don't need to convince people that you've changed. They'll see it. You don't need to defend your choices. They're yours. You don't need to explain why you walked away. Your peace will speak for itself. People will say what they want regardless of what you say. So why waste your breath? Let your results, your calm, your energy do the talking. Think about how much lighter life would feel if you stopped over-explaining and just started living. Imagine making a decision without the mental debate of, what will they think? Imagine setting a boundary and not justifying it. Imagine walking away from drama without giving a 5-minute speech about why. That's power. That's freedom. You get that power the moment you decide to stop performing for people who were never clapping for you. You are allowed to be misunderstood. You are allowed to grow quietly. You are allowed to let people think whatever they want about you while you focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Some people will only ever see you through the lens of who you used to be. And that's fine. You don't live there anymore. You don't owe anyone access to the newer, wiser, more peaceful version of you. When you stop explaining yourself, you start aligning yourself. You create space for real peace, the kind that doesn't need to be defended, the kind that doesn't depend on approval, the kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are and refusing to shrink for anyone. Because at the end of the day, peace isn't about being understood. It's about being unapologetically yourself, even when no one else gets it. The moment you stop chasing understanding and start standing firm in your truth, you'll feel a quiet confidence that no explanation could ever give you. And that's the moment you truly take your power back. You can't take back your peace or your power if you keep giving everyone access to your energy. Think about it. How many times have you felt completely drained, not because something terrible happened, but because you allowed too many people, opinions, and situations to enter your mental space? Every argument you replay in your head, every text you overthink, every person you're trying to please, they're all tiny leaks in your energy. Peace isn't something you find out there. It's something you protect from within. The reason you feel so restless or emotionally heavy is because you've been treating your energy like an open door, and anyone can just walk in. But not everyone deserves access to your mind, your time, or your emotions. You have to start treating your energy like a bank account, because it is. Every thought, every interaction, every emotion is either a deposit or a withdrawal. The problem is you've been handing out your emotional debit card to people who only take. You let them vent, drain, complain, manipulate, guilt trip, and then you wonder why you feel empty. You give your peace away one small compromise at a time. You say yes when you want to say no. You stay silent when you should speak up. You give people second, third, fourth chances that they never earned. Every one of those moments chips away at your inner peace, and before you know it, you're broke, emotionally bankrupt. Taking your power back begins when you recognize that your energy is sacred. Not everyone gets access to it. Not every situation deserves your reaction. Not every opinion deserves a response. You don't have to engage in every argument that invites you. You don't have to fix people who refuse to fix themselves. You don't have to explain yourself to people who only listen to attack, not understand. The real power lies in walking away without the need to prove anything, because silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Some people feed off chaos, it's their comfort zone. When you try to reason with them, you're not solving anything, you're stepping into their storm. That's why peace feels impossible when you're constantly reacting. You can't find calmness in a room full of noise. You have to step outside of it. Your power grows in the spaces where you choose not to respond, not to defend, not to argue. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you're telling the universe, my peace matters more than their approval. Start noticing how your body feels around certain people. Your energy never lies. You might leave a conversation feeling heavier or anxious, and you can't even explain why. That's your intuition telling you something. Pay attention to that. Protect yourself before you have to repair yourself. The people who drain you won't stop draining you just because you're kind. They'll stop when you start setting boundaries that are enforced, not just spoken. Boundaries are the fences that protect your peace, not walls that isolate you. The difference is intention. One keeps love and chaos out, but boundaries mean nothing if you don't enforce them. The moment you let someone cross them, just this once, you've told them it's negotiable. And people who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always test them. They'll guilt trip you. They'll say you've changed. They'll make you feel selfish for protecting yourself. Don't fall for it. Protecting your peace doesn't make you cold. It makes you conscious. You're no longer letting people write emotional checks your heart can't cash. You're no longer giving your energy to people who don't replenish it. Taking back your peace isn't just about cutting people off. It's about cutting off habits that disturb your energy. Overthinking, comparing, seeking validation, replaying past pain. All of that is mental noise. Peace doesn't exist in a mind that's constantly busy trying to control what it can't. You have to create space for peace to grow, and that means decluttering your inner world. You can't expect calmness if your mind is always open to chaos. Sometimes protecting your peace means logging off, taking a walk, sitting in silence, or saying now without guilt. You don't need to earn rest. You don't need to justify solitude. Your peace will be tested, especially when you start choosing yourself. People will misunderstand your silence. They'll call your distance arrogance. They'll assume your boundaries are attitude. But remember, the people who truly value you won't make you choose between your peace and their comfort. You don't owe anyone constant access to you. You are not obligated to carry conversations that drain you or fix relationships that break you. Some people are lessons, not lifelong passengers. You can love them from a distance and still protect your peace. The real shift happens when you stop reacting and start observing. You stop saying, why is this happening to me? and start saying, what is this teaching me? That's where your power lives, in your ability to choose how you respond. Because every time you react emotionally, you hand your power to someone else. But when you observe calmly, you stay in control. That's what peace looks like, not the absence of problems, but the presence of self-control. You take your peace back when you stop allowing chaos to live rent-free in your head. That argument from last week, let it go. That person who didn't understand you, let them. That situation you can't change, stop feeding it your energy. Your peace is too expensive to waste on things you can't control. The more you focus on what drains you, the less you have left for what fulfills you. Sometimes taking your peace back means becoming the bad guy in someone else's story, and that's okay. Let them think what they want. You don't owe anyone the version of you that makes them comfortable. You owe yourself the version of you that feels free. You can't keep sacrificing your peace just to be liked. You can't keep setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. Every time you shrink yourself to make others feel better, you hand over your power. And you've done that long enough, so start small. Unfollow people who trigger comparison. Say no to things that drain you. Walk away from conversations that steal your calm. Learn to sit with yourself until your presence feels like home again. The world doesn't need another person trying to please everyone. It needs people who are grounded, peaceful, and strong enough to say, I choose me. Because that's where your true power lives. Not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. When you realize that peace isn't given, it's built, you stop chasing and start creating. And once you build it, you guard it with everything you've got. Because your peace isn't just your calm, it's your power source. You can't take back your power if you're still trying to control everything around you. Most of the stress, frustration, and exhaustion in your life doesn't come from what's happening. It comes from your resistance to what's happening. You want people to act a certain way. You want life to unfold according to your expectations. You want to make sure nothing ever hurts you again, so you grip tighter, plan harder, predict every possible outcome. But what you're really doing is fighting reality, and that's a battle you'll never win. The harder you try to control everything, the more powerless you feel. Control isn't peace. It's fear wearing a mask. You think you're protecting yourself, but really you're just exhausting yourself. There's a difference between taking responsibility for your life and trying to control it. Responsibility says, I can influence what happens by how I respond. Control says, I can force what happens if I just do enough. One gives you freedom, the other gives you anxiety. The truth is, no matter how hard you try, you cannot control other people's actions, feelings, or choices. You can't make someone respect you, love you, or understand you. You can't stop life from being unpredictable. What you can control is how you show up in those moments, with peace, clarity, and power. The moment you stop trying to control others, you start regaining control over yourself. When you're obsessed with control, you live in constant reaction mode. Every small inconvenience feels like an attack. Every delay feels like failure. Every person who doesn't behave the way you expected feels like a personal betrayal. You end up micromanaging life itself, and in doing so, you squeeze the joy right out of it. Because real peace comes when you stop forcing and start flowing. It's not about giving up or becoming passive. It's about surrendering to the truth that you can only control what's within you, your mindset, your energy, your reaction. That's where your real power lies. Let's be honest, control feels safe because chaos feels terrifying. You think, if I can just plan enough, predict enough, prepare enough, then I won't get hurt again. But that's an illusion. Life doesn't reward control, it rewards courage. You're not supposed to know every answer or predict every outcome. You're supposed to trust that you can handle whatever comes your way. That's peace. Not the absence of uncertainty, but the confidence that you'll be okay regardless of it. You can't move forward if you're busy tightening your grip on everything you can't change. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is open your hands and let things unfold. You know how much mental space control takes up? You spend hours worrying about things that never happen. You replay conversations, analyze what people meant, plan for situations that never come, all because you're trying to manage the future. That's not awareness. That's anxiety. It keeps you stuck in your head instead of living in your life. You start missing moments because you're too busy trying to manage them. But life isn't meant to be managed. It's meant to be lived. The irony is, the more you let go, the more peaceful and powerful you actually become. Because now, your energy isn't scattered across trying to control the uncontrollable. It's focused on the only thing that ever mattered, your response. There will always be people who test your peace, people who act unpredictably, situations that don't go your way, moments that feel unfair. You can either let those things control you, or you can use them to strengthen your calm. Every time you choose patience over reaction, you reclaim a little more of your power. Every time you say, this isn't mine to control, and walk away, you reinforce your peace. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to prove a point every time someone misunderstands you. Let them. Let life move. Let the world spin without your constant supervision. It will, whether you fight it or not. Think about the last time you felt at peace. It wasn't when everything was perfect. It was when you stopped fighting what was happening. Maybe you accepted something you couldn't change. Maybe you stopped trying to convince someone. Maybe you finally said, "It is what it is," and took a breath. That's what peace feels like. It's quiet, it's steady. It's the moment you stop resisting and start trusting. You realize that peace doesn't come from control, it comes from surrender. And surrender isn't weakness, it's saying, "I'm strong enough to stop forcing things and start trusting myself." Most people think letting go means losing, but it's actually how you win. Because when you let go, you free yourself from emotional bondage. You stop letting circumstances dictate your happiness. You stop letting people's behavior decide your mood. You stop letting life's chaos determine your inner calm. That's what it means to be powerful. Not that you control everything around you, but that nothing outside of you can control you. You might not get to choose what happens, but you always get to choose who you become because of it. The truth is, peace doesn't come when life finally settles down. It comes when you settle into yourself, when you stop waiting for the external world to align perfectly before you allow yourself to breathe. Because guess what? Life will always be messy. People will always be unpredictable. There will always be something you can't control. But when you learn to center yourself in the storm, when you stop gripping and start grounding, you realize that peace isn't something you chase, it's something you cultivate. You reclaim your power when you stop chasing outcomes, when you stop needing closure from others, when you stop waiting for apologies that may never come, when you stop tying your happiness to things outside of you. That's when you finally start to feel free. The peace you've been looking for in other people, in results, in control, it's been inside you the whole time. It was just buried under fear, expectations, and the illusion that you needed to manage everything. Once you stop controlling and start allowing, that peace rises back to the surface, and it feels effortless. People who live in constant control mode are always exhausted because they're fighting the natural flow of life. You don't have to fight to prove your strength. Real strength is staying calm in chaos. Real strength is trusting your intuition when everything feels uncertain. Real strength is saying, "This isn't how I planned it, but I trust it's leading me somewhere better." When you can say that and mean it, that's peace. You'll notice how light you feel when you stop controlling. You'll notice how easy it becomes to breathe. You'll start attracting peace instead of chasing it, because your energy shifts from resistance to acceptance, and that shift changes everything. Your conversations feel calmer. Your relationships become easier. Your mind feels clearer. Life starts flowing again, not because it's suddenly perfect, but because you are. You've taken your power back by giving up control, and that's where peace truly begins. There comes a moment when you have to stop running from yourself and finally face what's inside. You can't take back your peace or your power if you're constantly escaping your emotions. Most people don't realize that their lack of peace isn't caused by other people or external chaos. It's caused by the war going on inside them that they keep avoiding. You bury pain under distractions, numbness, and business, thinking if you just stay occupied long enough, it'll go away. But it doesn't. It sits there waiting for silence. That's why you feel uneasy when things get quiet, because your inner world is begging for your attention. You can't build peace on top of unresolved chaos. You have to face it. Avoiding your emotions doesn't protect you. It just prolongs your suffering. When you suppress anger, pain, disappointment, or heartbreak, you're not getting rid of it. You're storing it. And stored emotions always find a way to leak out. Sometimes it shows up as anxiety, sometimes as exhaustion, sometimes as irritability or burnout. You might tell yourself you're fine, but your body and mind know better. They carry every unspoken word, every unhealed wound, every emotion you didn't give space to feel. And eventually, they'll force you to deal with it, through sleepless nights, emotional outbursts, or a deep sense of emptiness you can't explain. Peace requires honesty. You can't have inner calm while you're lying to yourself. You can't heal what you refuse to look at. The truth is uncomfortable, yes, but it's also freeing. You don't have to be afraid of your emotions. Feeling them doesn't make you weak, it makes you real. You can't transform what you deny. You can't release what you never face. If you want peace, you have to be brave enough to sit in the discomfort and feel what's actually there. Cry if you need to, journal. Talk to someone you trust. But stop pretending you're okay when you're not. Pretending may protect your image, but it poisons your soul. Healing doesn't happen in motion, it happens in stillness. That's why so many people never find peace, they're always running. They go from relationship to relationship, job to job, distraction to distraction because facing themselves feels too heavy. But you can't outrun yourself. Wherever you go, your unhealed parts go with you. True power isn't found in escaping pain. It's found in transforming it. Every wound you face becomes a doorway to strength. Every emotion you process becomes a lesson in resilience. The parts of you you've been avoiding are not your enemies. They're just waiting for your attention so they can finally let go. Start by asking yourself what you've been avoiding. Maybe it's grief you never processed, guilt you never forgave yourself, or anger you've suppressed for years. Whatever it is, stop labeling it as bad. Emotions are not dangerous, they're messengers. They're telling you where your peace is being blocked. When you finally stop resisting, you realize that emotions come and go like waves. They only drown you if you fight them. When you allow them to flow through you, they lose their power to control you. Feeling your feelings doesn't make you fall apart, it makes you whole again. Most people are afraid to feel because they think it means weakness. But feeling deeply is one of the most courageous acts there is. It's easy to numb out, to scroll, to drink, to distract. It takes strength to sit with discomfort and choose to understand it. It takes maturity to say, this hurts, but I need to face it. And it takes wisdom to realize that pain is not punishment, it's information. It's the body and mind's way of saying, something inside you needs your attention. Once you listen to it, you stop being controlled by it. That's when peace starts to return. Facing your emotions also means forgiving yourself. You've made mistakes. You've hurt people and people have hurt you. You've held on to things you should have let go of long ago. But punishing yourself over and over doesn't create growth. It creates guilt, and guilt is a prison that keeps you small. Forgiveness isn't about erasing what happened. It's about releasing your grip on it. It's about saying, this hurt me, but it doesn't define me. You don't need to wait for an apology, closure, or explanation to move forward. Peace doesn't come when everything makes sense. It comes when you make peace with not knowing. It's not just emotional wounds that rob you of peace. It's the stories you tell yourself about them. You tell yourself you're not enough, that you're broken, that you'll always be this way. But those stories are not truth. They're trauma talking. You can rewrite them. You can choose to see yourself not as a victim of your past, but as the author of your future. That shift in narrative changes everything. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You start asking, what did this teach me? That's not spiritual bypassing, it's empowerment. It's the process of turning pain into wisdom and wisdom into peace. You don't heal in one grand moment of realization. You heal in 1,000 small choices, to stay calm instead of react, to reflect instead of run, to forgive instead of fight. Healing is not pretty. It's messy. It's crying at 2 a.m. and still showing up for yourself the next morning. It's making peace with your imperfections and learning to love yourself anyway. It's realizing that you can be both a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. Peace doesn't mean you never feel pain again. It means pain no longer controls you. It means you've stopped being afraid of your emotions because you trust yourself to handle them. You realize that every emotion is temporary. You don't need to cling to joy or run from sadness. You let both flow through you, knowing that neither defines you. When you reach that point, you're not just peaceful, you're powerful. Because the person who can sit in discomfort without losing themselves is unstoppable. The world tells you to move on or just be positive, but that's not healing. That's avoidance dressed as optimism. Real healing is raw, and sometimes it's ugly. It's about going to the root instead of cutting the weeds. You can't build peace on a shaky foundation. You have to clean the ground first. That means digging into the pain, facing your truth, and letting go of what no longer serves you. When you do that, you create space for calm, clarity, and compassion to return. Your peace doesn't come from pretending everything is okay. It comes from being honest enough to say, this is hard, but I'm choosing to face it. When you do that, you stop being scared of your emotions. You stop running from your past. You stop letting pain define your story. You realize that healing isn't about forgetting, it's about transforming. You don't erase your past, you outgrow it. You take everything that was meant to break you and turn it into fuel for growth. That's how you reclaim your peace. Not by avoiding your emotions, but by finally embracing them and saying, you no longer control me. You can't take back your peace and power if you keep waiting for someone else to give you closure, validation, or permission to move forward. So many people stay stuck, replaying old memories, conversations, and regrets, thinking if they just had that one apology or explanation, they could finally feel free. But waiting for closure from others is like waiting for rain in a drought. It might never come, and even if it does, it won't be enough. Because true closure doesn't come from someone else's words. It comes from your decision to stop letting the past define your peace. You don't need their apology to move on. You don't need them to understand how much they hurt you. You don't need to go back and fix what's already broken. You just need to decide that your peace matters more than your pain. There's something powerful that happens when you stop expecting people to make things right. You begin to realize that not everyone who hurt you can see what they did. Some people won't acknowledge their actions because it forces them to face parts of themselves they're not ready to confront. Some will rewrite the story to make themselves feel better, and some simply don't care enough to understand. But you do. You care enough to heal, to evolve, to let go. And that's what separates you from them. You can't wait for them to grow before you decide to move forward. Growth is your job, not theirs. Closure doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from accepting that some questions will never be answered. You may never know why they left, why they betrayed you, why they didn't love you the way you needed to be loved. And that's okay, because your healing isn't about understanding them, it's about understanding yourself. It's about saying, I didn't deserve that, but I also don't deserve to carry it anymore. You stop reopening wounds to inspect them and start allowing them to heal. Because every time you replay what happened, you keep giving the past permission to live in your present. And peace can't grow in a mind that keeps revisiting pain. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's realizing that you can't rewrite what's already been lived. It's accepting that closure doesn't always look like a conversation. Sometimes closure is silence. Sometimes it's blocking that number. Sometimes it's deleting the old messages, not because you hate them, but because you love yourself enough to stop reliving the hurt. You don't owe anyone an open door to your energy, especially those who only bring chaos through it. You get to choose who has access to your peace. You get to decide when enough is enough. That's what taking your power back looks like. Not revenge, not resentment, but release. When you let go, you make space for something new. But if your hands are still holding on to what broke you, you'll never have room for what can build you. You have to release the story that things could have been different. They couldn't. If it could have gone another way, it would have. What happened was necessary to show you what needed to change, what needed to end, and who you truly are. Pain is a teacher, not a life sentence. Once you learn the lesson, you don't need to keep repeating the class. Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering without feeling the sting. It's about being able to look back and say, that chapter made me stronger, but it doesn't define me anymore. Sometimes peace comes when you stop trying to fix things that aren't yours to fix. You can't heal people who choose to stay broken. You can't save people who don't want to be saved. You can't make someone love you if they've already chosen not to. And you can't keep giving people pieces of your peace, hoping they'll finally see your worth. They won't. Not until you see it first. The energy you've been pouring into trying to make others change needs to be redirected into changing yourself. Because the only person you can control, the only person you can heal, the only person you can truly transform is you. Forgiveness is a huge part of reclaiming your peace, but not in the way most people think. Forgiving someone doesn't mean you excuse what they did. It means you refuse to let their actions poison your spirit any longer. Forgiveness isn't saying, it's okay. It's saying, I'm done carrying this. It's choosing freedom over bitterness. Because holding on to anger doesn't punish them. It punishes you. It keeps you tied to the very thing you want to escape. When you forgive, you don't do it for them. You do it for your own peace. You release the emotional debt they left behind so you can finally move forward unchained. Peace also requires that you forgive yourself. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. Maybe you stayed too long. Maybe you ignored the red flags. Maybe you lost yourself trying to hold something together that was already falling apart. But punishing yourself won't undo it. You have to let go of the guilt, the regret, the what-ifs. You are not your past. You are who you choose to become after it. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every setback was molding you into the person you were meant to be. You can't step into that person while still shaming the one who got you here. Self-forgiveness is the bridge between your pain and your peace. Letting go also means releasing control over the outcome. You might not know what comes next, and that's scary, but that's also freedom. When you stop trying to predict or force the future, you make room for better things to flow into your life naturally. Peace doesn't live in control, it lives in surrender. You start trusting that whatever left wasn't meant to stay, and whatever is coming will align with your growth. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start saying, this happened for me. That mindset shift alone transforms pain into power. The truth is, peace is not a destination, it's a daily decision. Every morning you wake up, you get to choose whether to carry yesterday's weight or set it down. You get to choose whether to feed resentment or gratitude. You get to choose whether to relive old pain or make room for new joy. Peace doesn't show up once you've healed everything. It shows up when you stop letting your wounds dictate your worth. The people who hurt you are not your story. They're just part of the plot that led to your strength. Letting go will hurt at first. It'll feel like loss. It'll feel like something's missing. But that emptiness isn't a void, it's space. Space for peace to enter. Space for clarity to grow. Space for the version of you that's been waiting beneath all that pain to finally breathe. Because the moment you let go of what's gone, you open the door to what's meant to come. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop replaying moments that broke you. You stop needing explanations to find peace. You just decide, I'm done suffering over things I can't change. That decision changes everything. Because peace isn't about having a perfect life. It's about no longer being ruled by the parts of your life that hurt you. It's about choosing calm over chaos, presence over pain, and growth over guilt. When you finally let go of the person, the story, the anger, the need for answers, you don't lose anything. You gain yourself. You gain your clarity. You gain your power. You gain peace. And that peace, that's something no one can ever take from you again. Every single thing you've gone through, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, the losses, was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken you. You were never meant to live your life constantly reacting to what others did to you, trying to prove your worth, or waiting for people to finally give you the peace they kept taking away. You were meant to learn how powerful you are when you decide that your energy, your time, your happiness, and your heart belong to you, not to the people who didn't know how to value them. Taking back your peace and your power doesn't happen in one big moment. It happens in small choices every single day. It's in the way you speak to yourself, the boundaries you set, the things you no longer tolerate, and the calm you protect like it's sacred. Because it is. You get to redefine what strength looks like. It's not in pretending you're fine or fighting every battle. It's in walking away from what drains you without guilt. It's in realizing that peace is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's in forgiving without needing to forget, letting go without needing closure, and trusting that what's meant for you will never require you to lose yourself to have it. That's what real power feels like. Quiet, grounded, unshakable. It's not loud, it's not defensive, it's peace. And the more you protect it, the more unstoppable you become. So if you've been struggling to move on, if you've been waiting for something or someone to make it easier, stop waiting. You already have everything you need to heal, to grow, to start again. Your peace is not out there in someone else's hands. It's right here, within you. All it takes is one brave decision to say, I'm done letting the past run my life. I'm done letting people drain me. I'm done handing over my power. And when you say that and mean it, you shift. You rise. You reclaim yourself. This is your reminder that peace is not about avoiding problems. It's about learning to stay calm and grounded no matter what happens around you. It's about knowing that you are bigger than what broke you. You are stronger than what tried to silence you, and you are more than what you lost. From this moment forward, make yourself your own priority. Choose your healing. Choose your growth. Choose your peace. Because when you do, everything in your life starts to align with that same energy. So take a deep breath right now. Let go of everything you've been holding that isn't serving you anymore. You don't need to chase anyone, prove anything, or replay what's already gone. Just breathe. You're free. You've taken your power back. And the best part, this is only the beginning. Thank you so much for listening today. If this message resonated with you, let it be a reminder that no matter how heavy life feels, peace is always one decision away. You are capable, you are strong, and you are enough. Stay true to yourself, protect your energy, and never forget, you deserve peace more than you deserve to stay stuck in pain. Until next time, take care of your heart, take care of your mind, and take care of your peace. You've got this. Thank you for being here.